So, Ned, I'm laughing because I don't even know how to do the background image on Zoom because I don't really ever use it, like the attachment you sent us. But just FYI, from my perspective, yours is backwards.
See,
And I know it's weird with the whole mirror image
ridiculous.
thing, like,
Yeah,
right? Because I'm raising my right hand, but I'm looking at
I
it's
flipped
annoying.
it intentionally when I was making it because I
I
tested it. And
figured, yeah.
it shows as backwards. So okay, good
Okay,
to know.
just I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal, but also I don't want you to be surprised later when you look at the recording and you're like, oh God, like
I think it ruins the whole thing. It's
it's a disaster. You're
no longer
incompetent.
cool at all.
It's a mess.
Yeah, I'm just working on my trompe-l'oeil effect, so
It's
I
like
was
the
like,
floating head effect.
yeah.
I thought had I was like, why am I seeing nothing? But I guess you have to actually move a device on the camera.
Oh.
There's like, I don't know.
Some computers have a little tab on the camera that you can slide out of the way so it's not on all the time.
Okay.
Can't
Yeah,
surveil you surreptitiously.
right.
Y'all are all way above my pay grade. I'm just gonna nod and not worry about it.
18 months of Zoom calls during the pandemic, sister. It's you get to be an expert because of repeated exposure.
Uh teaching during the pandemic when I couldn't get any of my kids to turn on their computers, their their cameras. I was just like watching myself for a year.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many CLEs I taught during the pandemic where it was just me and nobody was laughing at my jokes because there was no feedback. It was really hard.
You sure it wasn't the jokes?
Oh, I'm sure it was the jokes, brother. Don't trust me. I've told jokes that have fallen flatter than a house of pancakes, but um, yeah, it can be a mess. Jeff, you might want to go into your video settings and flip your background so that your background doesn't reads the right way around.
On
I
my
just, and that's my mistake.
Yeah, on my screen it is. That's
Right. That's what
interesting.
confused me. Apparently, it mirrors for the people that can see you. So in that same email chain, I just went ahead and sent an updated version. If you want to mess around with it. I think the effect's still there, but Councilmember Kohler disagreed. She said it looked lame.
Well, do we all have the touch up my appearance setting? Because Lord knows we could all use it. At least I do.
I like all the things in the background there, Jeff.
Tchotchkes.
Yes.
Never enough tchotchkes.
I go to a place where you can't see a whole lot behind me.
Well, that's one of the engaging things you can do on a virtual meeting is just have people do sort of like a hide and seek of things that they can see.
Okay. A very messy house for me right now. Even after a long weekend,
Isn't that why it's messy?
probably.
Hello.
Hey, Mayor.
Hey, Ned, I just saw your email. The first one, something was up with it, but that's the one I uploaded. Does it look weird?
It just looks flipped. It's strange because for you, it probably looks like it's the correct
Oh,
orientation.
yeah, it totally looks
It's
normal.
You have Mirror My Video preview checked in your video settings.
Oh, I don't know.
Could have saved myself a few clicks.
Adjust background. I don't think so, but yes, it is. There it is. Is that better?
It did not flip it.
Hmm, weird.
the joys of.
You just have to look away for a second and it'll do it.
Now it's flipped on my side, but it looks normal on yours.
No, it's still backwards.
That's so weird. Huh. All right. Mirror my video. Let me upload another one. I'll just do that. Good old-fashioned blur. Hello, Stanley.
Evening, everyone.
Evening.
Hello.
Ned, I appreciate your background, but think you're going to have to teach some of us how to use it. I tried.
No worries. You and Councilmember Goldberg both have some interesting little I Spy book things going on behind you, so we can all enjoy that. I do miss the snowman though.
Mm.
Yeah, and I may not be a fan of backgrounds because the couple of pictures that I was able to came up, they
This
seem
is-
to put a
this is-
shadow on your head.
This is the best thing in the background.
Oh, Jeff.
A big Jeff action figure.
Well, everybody, we had a perfectly sunny day to have had a declaration of emergency.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of
Let's see if
laughing.
we
I
can get
saw
it
the
right the
thing.
next time.
Well, and I thought about that this morning. I thought you almost want to do this maybe once a year, whether there's a need to or not, just to exercise, that it's that the
it's a good
mechanism
practice,
still
actually.
works.
It's a good
The
best
ability.
practice,
Mm.
I've
just
got
in
to
case of
say,
emergency.
since
Right,
the
right.
pandemic, I've forgotten a lot of my Microsoft Teams and Zoom meeting know-how. So
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, we got lucky with the weather. Tennessee got slammed pretty hard.
Yeah, they
So
did.
it just cut north of us. We really did get very lucky.
Yeah, we really did. I'd say better safe than sorry. We've seen what happens in Atlanta when we
Yes.
underprepare.
I discovered that last year. I never knew that Atlanta was so hilly until that
Until the ice
snowstorm
storm.
hit.
Yeah.
I had to use the curb to stop from smashing into some people's parked vehicles last
Mm.
January.
Yeah,
It's not-
scary.
It's not fun. Is my screen showing for everybody? The agenda should be up.
Yes.
yes,
Okay, perfect.
Is that on full screen?
It's not. I kind of thought, there might be some benefit to seeing all the items, but if it pleased the company, I can certainly make it full screen. I like that.
Will the speaker,
Anyway,
will the speaker, will that just be up all the time, or will the speaker show?
I think it
Oh.
depends on your video settings, doesn't it? On your
Yes.
personal one.
So I'm working
View.
with two monitors, so I'm able to see a bright green outline around who's speaking,
Who's
and then
speaking, I see that.
it spotlights them.
I do see that.
So there's a setting that people can do that to spotlight the speaker. I'm not sure if you
Okay.
have a setting to do
Oh,
that for everyone.
It's
Ned.
under view.
Yeah.
it's happening for me.
Mhm,
I'm
Does that
like
mean it's
same.
Councilmember
happening
Hull.
for
I'm
everybody?
remembering now.
Okay,
Yeah. Ned, can I ask one more housekeeping
of course,
thing?
please.
Since you're our tech in residence here.
Ah.
Will you be able to mute and unmute folks, or do they need to do that themselves?
Yes, I'll be able to mute
Okay.
and unmute.
Okay. Maybe we can start with
And-
everybody muted and then unmute for public comment. I just know the last couple times we've done virtual, there's been some folks that haven't been muted and there's been background noise, which has been distracting.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, anybody who is currently unmuted, that is not a council member or staff, do not think I don't like you, I'm going to go ahead and mute you now.
Okay, great.
And then how we'll do it, go ahead and share my little surprise here that I found this. So everybody can see what their, I don't know if you can see that timer up on the screen.
Yes. Oh, look at that.
I'll start putting that on the monitors during in-person meetings as well, so people can
Perfect.
monitor their own time.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Our regular meeting, January 27th at 6 p.m., being held virtually because of the winter storm, which turned out to be not as bad as originally predicted. And I believe, Chris, we do have the state declaration of emergency still in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, the state and the county have an emergency declaration, which authorizes us to continue, Mayor.
Okay, great. So then we don't need to declare our own. We'll just defer to them. And then I'm going to move into announcements and communications. So first of all, I want to say an extra humongous thank you to the chief and city manager and the public works director and all of the staff that jumped in, but especially the chief and Director Kendrick for all of the storm prep. I know you guys have been in meetings after meetings after meetings, just staying apprised, coordinating with FEMA or DEMA or one of the EMAs, doing all of the amazing behind the scenes work, coordinating with Georgia Power, making sure that they know what roadways we needed cleared, our egress and ingress for emergency response vehicles, making sure that our emergency responders, first responders would have access to housing if needed, if the situation deteriorated quickly. So there was a lot of behind the scenes work there. And I just want to say thank you for the incredible storm prep and emergency response preparedness. And also that for the public who have asked about that, that is one of the priorities that was laid out for the city, that the chief and the public works director, the chief is the primary public safety officer, have been pulling together along with the rest of the staff an emergency response preparedness plan. So we have something that is published and we can defer to that and be prepared before we need to act. So extra thank you on that. And I believe that is being presented later on in this first quarter, if I am correct. So keep an eye out for that. I also wanted to just say that I went to the Stone Mountain MLK Day celebration in their downtown and got to meet the new mayor. They have an entirely new mayor, full council, and full city staff all rolling on at the same exact time, which is quite an undertaking. But they meeting Mr. Mayor Linder was really quite an honor, and I'm excited for the enthusiasm he is infusing in Stone Mountain, and I look forward to just continuing that relationship with another nearby small city. So that was great. Also, Councilmember Goldberg, Mayor Pro Tem Goldberg, and I, along with City Manager Hawthorne and Director Kendrick, met with the Georgia Power representative for our area. There's a new rep. Was it last week or the week before? I can't even keep track. But that was really helpful. There will be some public education around relief programs that they have for seniors. That they plan to attend some of our community events coming up. And it was really just great to talk with them about some of the Rockbridge Road power, access to the power poles and the tree trimming. I know Councilmember Goldberg was tracking pretty closely with many residents. So that was great. And I look forward to a continued fruitful relationship with them. I made some notes of all of these comments I wanted to make before we move on to other communications from council. One is thank you to everyone who showed up to the last council meeting, who's continued to voice concerns I know amongst the council, there's been some discussion about removing the beach house item from the agenda this evening and tabling it until there's some further, some other priorities as we've been discussing get kind of worked out. So that was something that came out of a July 2025 meeting last July, brought to the council as something that might be a priority from one of our council members. So I think we're all in agreement that it's not the highest priority at the moment. So we'll, I think there's going to be a motion to amend the agenda, just so everyone is aware of that. Also, in response to comments, I met with some residents last week and this week and have a meeting with Mr. Hawthorne and Mr. Kendrick tomorrow to discuss more detail some of the concerns raised specifically around the engineer's report and other things. So we'll report back with more information after that. So keep your eyes open for that. And just to say, we've heard from residents on both sides of the aisle regarding the riprap. I do believe that there's a path forward, you know, one that was discussed somewhat when the proposal was first approved. But I just wanted to call out in these times that we find ourselves in. One of our wise neighbors sent some words today about how we're in a time of just so much injustice and so much pain. And it's really easy to feel helpless and to feel like there's no way to move the needle, to feel, you know, we feel unheard. And it makes sense to me. The riprap is tangible, literally. This is a community that we love and care about. And I just want to say that the difference is that we hear you and we are responding. So thank you for continuing to share your concerns and to show up to these meetings. All right, with that, any other announcements or communications from council?
Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to talk about the FIFA regional event planning that I went to. Is now the appropriate time to do that? Okay, so basically, the GMA had a little seminar on regional event planning for FIFA, which then can be rolled over into later events. They are expecting about 300,000 visitors. There's been 150 million ticket requests, which is about almost 4 times what they did for the last World Cup. Atlanta needs about 250 more officers per day, which is the day before, during, and after each match. The schedule: June 15th is Spain versus Cabo Verde. June 18th, South Africa versus playoff winner. June 21st, Spain versus Saudi Arabia. June 24th, Morocco versus Haiti. June 27th, Uzbekistan versus the playoff. And then July 1st and 7th are the semifinals, and July 15th is going to be the finals. And those, especially in July, are going to be huge. And it's a solid month of events. There'll be viewing parties everywhere. We can look into getting a licensing for the viewing party, but they're expensive and there's a ton of rules. So we'll have to look into that carefully. At the last Metro Atlanta Mayors Association, they talked about coordinating with Atlanta Police Department and Atlanta Fire Department, as they are the public safety leads. And Police Chief should already be talking. Chief. And Atlanta will be getting some additional federal funds for additional safety officers. So I don't know if we'll be eligible for that or how that works. More details coming. And they said the things to be ready for: traffic and transportation. There's going to be a huge increase in traffic, and GPS will be leading people through neighborhoods not used to the influx, and people will be getting lost, and there'll be a lot of through traffic that you wouldn't expect. Number 2, nuisance enforcement ordinances should be reviewed and posted. 3, the short-term rental policies should be set in place. They are expecting the short-term rental impact should be felt 2 hours outside of Atlanta. And even if their range is going to be half of that, we're still well within where we're going to be feeling it. There's going to be a big increase in what they call party houses. So we need to be aware of that. Quality of life calls happen mostly overnight, so we might want to consider having an officer on those game nights, especially the semifinals and finals, overnight added to it. We need to review the city permits, such for special events, for filming, anything that the city might be issuing. And they expect a huge uptick in human trafficking. There is a dedicated task force specifically for this event in regards to human trafficking, but they'll get the contact info for that. They kept stressing over and over again, plan early and plan together. Don't just hope that it's going to be fine and it's going to blow over. Not going to happen here. So we need to coordinate with neighboring agencies and municipalities to share ideas for public safety, housing, and transport. And we need to prepare instead of hoping for the best. So with that said, I look forward to bringing more updates and planning as it happens, but there are definite things that we as a city, as council, and as administration can be doing to lead up to it. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Councilmember Torrent. Any other announcements or communications? Okay. I don't think I'm seeing any. So let's move on to an adoption of the agenda of the day. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda of the day?
I
Mayor
motion.
Hall,
I motion to adopt the agenda for the day.
Okay,
before
is
we
there-
do that,
Yes,
the consent agenda, is that now or?
that's below public comment.
Okay, great. Sorry, thanks.
Yeah, of course. And I know that there was a sentiment about amending the agenda of the day. Is there any motion to amend the agenda before we adopt it?
I would like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to postpone the vote and have more discussion about the beach house project.
Okay, so keep the discussion on this agenda, but postpone the vote and to push that to another
Correct.
meeting. Okay,
Yes.
great. Is there a second to adopt the the agenda as amended, not the amenda as agended?
I second the whatever the correct version is
Okay.
of those words put together.
All right, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
great. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from December 9th and January 13th meetings?
I motion to adopt the minutes from the.
Okay, is there a
January-
second? Great, thank you, Deb, or Councilmember Hall.
I'll second.
Okay, great. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
This off.
A
Great.
quick, just a comment on order. If anybody at any point abstains or votes no, if you could just kind of make an extra effort of that, since I can't see all 5 council members on my screen, that would be helpful. Thank you.
great. Thank you. City Clerk, I was just wondering if you were capturing all of that. Seemed a little challenging to see all of it. Okay, now moving on to public comment. So as Ned shared earlier, we've got a handy dandy timer that'll be up on the screen. And if there's any public comment, just raise your hand and Ned can unmute you. City Clerk Degenhard can unmute you. And yeah, public comment.
I'm going to go ahead and unmute myself while I scroll through and just raise your hand. And if something weird is happening and you're trying to raise your hand, there's Brandy Beavers has her hand raised, so I'm glad to know that it works. I'm going to ask you to unmute and I'll bring up the timer and you'll get your 3 minutes.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. I'm having technical difficulties, so thank you. Okay. Can I go?
Yep. Go ahead, Brandy. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Again, thank you to the mayor and all of the council and all of the people working for the city and with the city together to keep Pine Lake the very special and unique nature-based habitat that it's known for. I've expressed my concerns to the mayor and to the council, and if you haven't read my latest email where I've had some technical difficulties getting through, I encourage you to do so. It basically explains the reasons why I believe our city's future is in question. Among the many, many issues and the pinnacle of the mountain of challenges sits the major problem, which is the dam repair project, affecting our lake, which is the crown jewel of our city, and what it means to be Pine Lake. This issue is symbolic for Pine Lake as a whole, and how we handle it will set the stage for Pine Lake's future. As many of you know already, our back berm was completely clear cut of all the vegetation, and the riprap was placed on the lakeside, going against what many believe was the engineer's recommendation. We don't know why this happened, but we do know that it needs to be corrected as soon as possible. We would like to respectfully ask the council to pull together on this list of action items. Please pause all projects that are not an immediate improvement threat to health and safety. This includes the Beach House project. If there are safety issues guiding the speed of this project, why have events continued? Could we possibly move the events elsewhere until the council can decide on a comprehensive plan? Could we just focus on only the areas of safety concerns, pausing on other aesthetically and functionality-based areas? Please immediately remove the riprap before someone is injured and/or significant damage is caused to the dam due to the unwanted plant species growing up through the riprap with no way to control growth except through the spraying of herbicide. Please place an immediate ban on the spraying of herbicide around the lake, wetlands, and creek. Not only does this go against Pine Lake's core values, but our wetlands were created to clean the water coming from Snapfinger Creek. Spraying herbicide as a maintenance plan defeats this purpose. Please come up with a community-led landscape, a comprehensive community-led landscape design and maintenance plan for around the lake. I'm happy to donate my professional skills and services in this area in regards to designing and planning. Please communicate to us the reimbursement regarding the alleged accidental vegetation removal on the western lake bank by a contractor. Please look into why the city recently stopped the flow of our spring. Our spring-fed lake is no longer spring-fed. Spring Drive is even named for this spring. So I ask, please save Pine Lake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Beavers.
Next.
Timer worked out well. I think everybody's able to measure their comments a little bit better. So we'll be making sure this sticks around.
Great. I see Calvin's hand.
Yes.
Great.
Yep. Calvin, you can unmute yourself when you're ready.
Okay, Calvin, 4568 Dahlia Drive. What I would like to see is the beach house renovations go ahead. I think it's we all use it a lot. It's been used more lately. I can't see any clear reason not to go ahead and proceed with the renovations. I'm also the only thing one of my biggest complaints about the lake is the city not communicating clearly what that riprap might look like in the future. I was talking to someone and they suggested maybe doing since what I've heard is that plants will grow up in the riprap, and that if we had some sort of generated images of how that would look in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and whether vegetation and how that vegetation should come up and start improving the look of the lake, or what some people perceive as the look of the lake. I assume that the western end is going to be redone because what I heard was the person made a mistake, and they were going to correct it. So I think the beach house go back to the beach house. The renovations have been put off for a really long time, and it's one of our most used facilities. We did the clubhouse correct, so I'm not certain why the beach house would be precluded from any renovations. I've still got a minute and a half. Let's see. I would just recommend clearer announcements coming out from the city, like that. What pictures are good, graphics are good, is to show how things are going to go, how things could proceed. I don't think the city is in a state of getting ready to implode upon itself. But I think, more discussion. I'm glad that Deborah and Jane are going to have a little discussion about the city this weekend. So that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Don't take any with nickels, okay?
Thank you.
Hi, I don't know how to raise my hand. This is Eva. Can y'all hear me?
Eva, hey Eva, yeah, I can hear you. Actually, we had one individual in front of you. So
Okay, so I will mute myself and then you holler at me.
yes, sounds
Okay.
great. Thank you. Mira, you are up.
Okay, hello to everyone. I would like to ask Mayor Hall about riprap. You did not give us a time frame when that riprap will be fixed and what you are going to do. I think it's very essential that that riprap is fixed. I don't know if removal of it is best option, but you can cover it with that felt underground, that felt, I don't know the name of it right now on top of my head, and put some organic layer of ground and then plant new plants. I think that would be the cheapest option and it will look great. But letting grow those bushes through that riprap, it's not option. Also, I would like to question $100,000 quotes. It looks like that everything under $100,000 you are accepting a quote right away. I don't think that is the right way. None of us are Rockefeller. I don't know who brought that, but this is really wrong. I mean, you do just little thing of couple of $100 on repair in your house, and you are asking for 3 beds. I think that should be changed, and that should be priority. Also, I look at a list for the beach house. I'm for that the beach house to be renovated, but a list of the contractor are very shady, and then scope of the work is very shady. I think before council can accept something, we have to have clearly picture what type of paint, what is the painting, absolutely detailed scope of the work. If somebody needs help, I would like to help for free. You know, that is my line of work. I really don't mind doing that. But I think that it is really, really time that all these bad remodeling things, they are done not in non-professional manner, like somebody residential grade did it. And I think Pine Lake, with the money that spends, deserves the more. Other thing that caught my eye was $300,000 in construction repairs for 2024. I would like that somebody look at where that money went, because I really, on all these projects that I went to, I cannot see $300,000 worth of the work in 2024. And also, as every meeting, I'm asking for, please provide us maintenance schedule for maintenance of the buildings, streets, lawn care. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think Eva is up.
Hey, I just wanted to say that there are numerous people, whether they're here or not, who are very concerned about starting the beach house renovation before we figure out the lake because of financial issues, Calvin. We don't want to be spending a huge amount of money on the beach house if we need to redirect that money towards something that's coming up around the lake and the dam. I do think that that's the most important thing. People will not want to rent the beach house if the lake and the surrounding area is not beautiful. Also, some of us have been through the beach house renovation before, and a lot of things they meant well, but a lot of things were not fixed correctly or at all because of it was surface fixed. So it is important for us to know exactly what's going to be done, and for the people who are doing it. There has been, I don't know anything about it, but I have seen a lot of concern about the people hired who are doing it. So I do agree that that should be looked at a little bit more closely. I use the beach house a lot. So it is something that I think would be wonderful in the future, but I agree that it should be, we should hold off on that, especially because a lot of people feel that way. And we've got so much on our plates right now. So anyway, that's all, folks. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for your comments. Any more public comment? Okay, I don't see any, so I'm going to move forward with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I would like
Yes.
to make a motion that we break out the city council meeting calendar adoption for discussion from the consent agenda, please.
Okay. Chris, is there a way to do that since we already accepted? Sorry, I misunderstood your question when you asked before, Thomas. I thought you were asking if we had adopted the consent agenda. But
The short
attorney.
answer, Mayor, is that the motion to amend the consent agenda is always in order.
Okay.
So it's appropriate for that to be discussed at this point. I obviously have no idea what Councilmember Torrance concerns are, but if he has the votes to get that done, then it ought to be a separate item.
Okay. Is there a motion? So I hear your motion, Thomas, or Councilmember Torrance, to amend the consent agenda. Is there a second for that, to move the council calendar to the new business, or old business, I guess it would be? Jane, did you just second? Okay. Okay, great. Okay.
Did someone
so
second?
I think Councilmember Lowers seconded. Okay, all in favor of
Sorry,
amending?
I'd be more comfortable if I heard her.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, and just for order, Chris, is a second required to remove an item from the consent agenda and put it in regular
The
business?
vote.
Yeah, in circumstances where there's a change to an already adopted agenda item, it's required that there be a second.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Ooh, there's some feedback there.
I think we took care of it.
Okay, so I think Councilmember Lowers, you seconded, is that correct? Okay, great, thank you. All right, all in favor of amending the consent agenda?
Aye.
Raise your hand. Okay, great. So we'll add that under item number 4 as item number 5. Okay, so is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, great. Moving on to new business. So first order of business is resolution R-2026-07, the authorization to apply for Tree City USA designation. And Councilmember Goldberg, did you want to tee this one up?
Sure. Having had a meeting with a representative from the Georgia Forestry Commission, Dave Long, he has encouraged us to reapply for Tree City, and many of you know that's something that I've been a fan of for a long time, and helped us get the original designation, which we did lose. So in speaking with Mr. Long, who's the forestry specialist with the Georgia Forestry Commission, he says we should, without a problem, really meet the criteria. So the idea is we need a proclamation. We need to have a per capita spending of, I think it is $2 per person in the city, which we easily do based on information I've received from the city manager and the city clerk. We have on staff people who are responsible for managing trees, whether it's full-time through the Public Works or a contract certified arborist. So I believe this is a proclamation, a resolution to authorize to go ahead and do the application, which we need to turn in by the end of the month. And part of that is also an Arbor Day proclamation, which is another part of this, with a date to be determined when we would actually celebrate Arbor Day, trying to coordinate hopefully with Seed and the Pollination Festival.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Goldberg. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution R 2026-07, the authorization to apply for Tree City USA designation?
I move we adopt it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, great.
Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you for bringing that to council. Okay, Resolution R 2026-808, sorry. The MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement with the Atlanta Regional Commission to develop the 2026 Comprehensive Plan. City Manager Hawthorne, I believe this one's you.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This item is something that is required by the state of Georgia, but more importantly, it is important and planning for our future. The comprehensive plan development is updated as required by the state every 5 years. It is a very comprehensive process that goes into essential areas that could affect the city's future, from land development to economic development, housing, any area that you can think of that could impact the lives of our neighbors in the land that we so value. It is a very community-wide driven process. We will have the official kickoff at the February work session. Now, the Department of Community Affairs of the state of Georgia, for small cities in particular being sensitive to their need, has identified the Atlanta Regional Commission in Pine Lakes case as a partner to assist us through this at a cost for free, as opposed to if the city elected to go out and hire a consultant planner on its own. And that may be a choice that we look at for the future, because the number of elements that will be reviewed are limited as to those that are required by the state of Georgia, but nonetheless very important. What's on the agenda this evening is the agreement with the Atlanta Regional Commission. I will tell you that we have already gotten started with some introductory meetings, a lot of communication back and forth. So they are ready to go. We were largely waiting on the agreement that was held up in their legal department for some number of months. There is the issue, and this is separate from what you will be voting on, but I want to make sure that it's a part of the discussion. There is a steering committee that is required moving ahead. It has only a couple of positions that are deemed essential and must be approved by the community for including on the steering committee, and that is someone from the business community and one elected official from the council. Other than that, the steering committee can be any size that we choose, although the Atlanta Regional Commission has said that it should be a working and workable committee. They've recommended a number of around 7 or 8. I know that 3 council members have expressed interest. The problem with 3 council members is that it would create a quorum of the council, and so it would defeat the purpose of having a kind of a nimble committee. So just recalling the chronology of things, I know that Councilmember Lowers expressed interest. It probably was the first council member, but she might have also been the first one to learn of it. In the subsequent communication, other council members have expressed interest. I think Councilmember Goldberg expressed interest, and then Councilmember Kohler has also expressed interest. So I will leave it to the council. It's not necessary for you to appoint this steering committee. A formal vote of the council isn't required, but I would like for you to address the issue of the two of you that would be on the steering committee, recognizing that this is an all-inclusive process and the full council will be fully engaged and certainly will ultimately have to approve it. So I don't know if you want to go in order of kind of the first two. The first two certainly would represent kind of, I guess I would say, one of the newest members and then one of the existing members of council, but I also don't want to be unfair and laying out that choice. So some discussion will be required of the council on the steering committee aside from your vote on the agreement itself.
Thank you, City Manager Hawthorne. So I'll first call for a motion to adopt resolution R 2026-04. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution 2025-04, 2026-04, sorry.
Okay, great. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I see Lowers and Goldberg both seconded. And now discussion. So do y'all have thoughts? I know the city manager proposed just doing it in chronological order in terms of who expressed interest, but do y'all have any thoughts? We could also, figure that out over email and formalize it, I imagine. Does that need to be necessarily decided tonight, Stanley?
No, it does not have to be decided tonight, but I will tell you that Atlanta Regional Commission has been anxious to get started with the steering committee, and so we've kind of delayed it. So I would say no longer than another week we should decide.
Okay.
I'll settle it quickly. I'll step back.
Okay. Great. So that would mean Lowers and Kohler, council members Lowers and Kohler would be the two folks representing council on the steering committee. Does that work for y'all?
That's great for me.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And thanks everyone I think this is a positive problem to have, too much interest. But there's, I think, Stephanie, you pointed out there's no shortage of work to do. So guarantee we will be plugged in other places. But I think we have another one right here on the agenda this evening, and then another one that was sent by email. So we've got a lot of things in the hopper for representing Pine Lake. So great. With that discussion, is there a motion, or there was a motion, there was a second? All in favor of adopting resolution R 2026-08? 08.
Bye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Great. Thanks, y'all. Okay. Moving on to resolution R 2026-09. This municipal appointment to the DeKalb County Women's Commission. So speaking of the next opportunity, Stanley, City Manager Hawthorne.
Yes, I think the city clerk is going to handle this one with each of these cams for the benefit of the new council. Although my name appears on the cam and I certainly review and ultimately approve it, but there's always a sponsoring department, not necessarily myself who's actually writing.
Great.
So City Clerk Geigenhart handled this one.
Great. Thank you, City Clerk.
Sure. So I would, of course, refer everyone to the CAM for the details. The background came directly from Michelle with DeKalb County, who's kind of fielding municipalities to make sure that they're, getting representation from all 13 cities. This is it's a policy advisory commission type thing. So we kind of like the last item, an interested council member would, be nominated to this committee. I think Chris may or may not have a comment regarding the format of how we're going to adopt a resolution for this.
Motion rather.
so I'll defer to him if he wants to comment on that. But otherwise, that's similar to the last item. Task at hand is to select somebody on council. Actually, not sure it needs to be on council specifically.
Yeah, additional comment. Ned is right. The City Clerk Dagenhart is right. It does not have to be a member of council. They are looking for a designation, and they did want it come from the jurisdiction itself, from the governing body. And I think they're looking for it to be the person to be identified. I think it's by February 1st or somewhere close to that. So this would be our last council meeting. If you chose to participate, Pine Lake doesn't necessarily have to participate, but the county certainly has given us an invitation to.
And the commission meets, they say at least 4 times per year. So subject to more. But whoever's interested would want to keep that in mind, scheduling wise.
Great, thank you. Can I ask a clarifying question? As the Women's Commission, is there any requirement about the gender of the person who's representing Pine Lake?
It's a great question. I don't believe it's specifically outlined. It
Okay.
does comment, reflect diversity and things like that. But if the individual felt that their identity aligns with the mission of the commission, again, I would imagine that's up to them.
The exact statement from the county is all appointees must be residents of DeKalb County, and appointing authorities are strongly encouraged to select members who reflect the diversity of our communities and professional sectors. So it's subject to our interpretation.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone on council? Well, I guess let me first motion and let's second, and then we'll discuss. Is there a motion to adopt resolution R 2026-9?
I move
I'll
to
do a
adopt.
motion to adopt resolution 2026 9.
Great, and second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, discussion. Is there anyone on council who's interested in serving as the representative from Pine Lake for this position? No. Okay.
I feel like we should have somebody. I would prefer one of our newer women
Council members
counselors, but I don't want to voluntold somebody. So would any of our new members be interested? Because I will support it.
Looks like they're
So I'm hesitant, being, I get a lot of time off. Every year I have 12 weeks off as a teacher, but not knowing a schedule can be difficult for me.
That makes sense, especially, most meetings happen during the workday.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Fortunately, between this and the ARC, which would be my priority, and with work, one big one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Stephanie.
I just wanted to say that I think it's really cool that it doesn't have to be a council person. So I'm also very supportive if someone in the community is inspired to do this. Like I don't personally feel like it's vital that it's a council person. So
yeah,
just to throw that out for anybody who might be interested.
Also, I think the chief may be interested as well as a potential representative from Pine Lake. So I appreciate too that it doesn't necessarily have to be a council person. It looks like that's 4 sessions during the year. So maybe we could take this offline and figure out in the next week who is going to do it. And for those of you in the public, if you're interested in representing Pine Lake, if you want to email as well. Chief, do you want to speak? I see you came back on camera. Here. I think you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
I'm still trying to change my background. I didn't realize I was on camera. If it's, I mean, it can be, I guess, rotated because, like Councilmember said, we don't know exactly what time, but I wouldn't mind representing Pine Lake for that.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. Does that, okay, so if that's the case, how about we go ahead and vote and appoint the chief if there are no objections to that? Does that work for everyone? All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, I don't know why I raised my hand. That was useless, but
Thank
I'm
you,
in
Chief.
favor. Great, thank you, Chief. I know you already have a lot on your plate, but I think you'll be an amazing rep for Pine Lake always out there. Okay, and moving on to resolution R 2026-10, the Beats House renovations. We've already adopted an amended agenda where this is just a discussion, not a vote. But I'd like to turn this over to Public Works Director Kendrick to tee up
Mayor,
the project.
before Mr. Kendrick speaks, I would just like to point out, because I think it was later in the afternoon and all of the council members may not have had a chance to see a communication that came from the city clerk on this issue that outlined the scope of issues that will be addressed. And I guess my only comments, and respecting the council's determination, is to point out that all of our facilities are something that we should be proud of, and certainly we shouldn't be ashamed of. And then I guess the worst case scenario is that we would be responsible for a facility that is simply below standards with some very basic things. I think I said to the staff earlier today that a lot of times when you say a renovation to a facility, there's probably a tendency for people to think that it's something just aesthetically pleasing, maybe even glamorous. That is not the case with the recommendation that is before you. No construction project is ever going to be perfect, but I will tell you that I believe the concerted effort by the previous council, who at least spoke favorably, but members of that council for this one last facility, that we are a whole lot prouder of the people's houses, the people being the people of Pine Lake, than we were before. We had facilities such as City Hall, the old City Hall that is now called Pine Lake Municipal Annex, and certainly we've done renovations to the courthouse, that all of these buildings had failing grades, absolutely below the standards. Restrooms not working properly. I will tell you that for the first 10 months that I was in this position, we would not drink the water at City Hall. It was dark. You could see it in the bathrooms, and similar conditions existed in others, so much so that it had been closed at the municipal annex for a long time. Probably was the reason why the building was closed down. The beach house is no different, and it's probably the most used, as I've heard, by the community. So I would encourage the council to review the list of essential, basic things, including electrical, that needs to be done. That's included. Certainly will include some painting and those kind of things. But we don't put these kind of things on the agenda without taking them very seriously, and also being sensitive to all of the needs of the community. I will assure you that Mr. Kendrick has thought of the cost of the ultimate solutions to the lake, to the dam, and so forth. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy decisions, but a building is something that we can be more liable in some ways than natural places. So I understand if the council decides to postpone it, you've already taken action not to vote. So this is a part of the discussion. But it also will come with a cost, both in terms of timing and also these types of resources, they don't remain status quo. So we'll probably be looking at an increase in costs, maybe significant, some 9 months down the road because of the timeline that Mr. Kendrick has already outlined on the need. If we're going to do it this year, we don't have any time to lose. It will have to be rebid as an example.
Yes, and
Mr.
along those lines, oh, sorry, Manager.
Yeah, Mayor, you're certainly the chair, but I took up Mr. Kendrick's time. But whatever you want to do next.
Oh, no, we can turn it over to Mr. Kendrick. I just wanted to echo in that communication, kind of laying out the timeline. It seems like the options before us are either before we get into the peak rental season and all of the community events, starting with Pollinator Fest, moving all the way through Lake Fest, which would then, the next consideration is this gets moved to November. So I think everybody saw that
Yes,
email
okay.
communication, but yeah, Mr. Kendrick, I'd like to turn it over to you and then we'll open it to council for discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Can everybody?
Gotcha.
Oh,
I can hear you.
all
Yes,
right,
sir.
great.
You're good.
All right, just first and foremost, echoing what the city manager said, our role in making sure that the buildings are safe is simply for compliance, functionality, and safety. And we started this journey on looking at our facilities some 18 months ago when we first, took this job. And one of the first things I heard, of course, was, usage of the buildings. The beach house was one of the greatest users. And so with that being said, we went about, talking with the people who used the building the most. That was some of the residents of Plain. Of course, our visitors on a daily basis. We have people that are, visiting. They don't necessarily go into the beach house, but they're there. They look at it and they have comments. We've also gotten a lot of feedback through our facility manager, who's responsible for the rentals of the space, and we've asked her for comments or to ask specifically the renters what are some of their comments regarding, usage or rentals of the facility. And we've also heard from, some former members of council and maybe even a couple of current members of council regarding, the status of the building. So this is something that has been, 8-9 months in the works. There's also, the evaluation of the building. We've already done some small things that just could not wait. Some minor electrical, minor plumbing, and just for instance, on the minor plumbing, we had the outside spigot was leaking, so we had to make sure we fixed that. And in the middle of fixing that, we found out that the hot water was plumbed into the outside spigot. That's not a normal occurrence. And once we fixed that, we found out we had some minor molding issues inside the wall. They weren't as severe, but they were present there, and it led to some other things about access to the space. There were some security concerns that were voiced by the chief, regarding, access to the buildings and those types of things. And so that's how we came about developing the scope of work along with some of our other buildings. At this point in time, I think, just, reflecting over everything and some of the things that's being said. And I also want to say I was trying to have a deeper conversation with council before we got, regarding some of the other projects that I've heard folks say could impact, or this project could impact some of uh, the other more priority projects that we're working on. And I'll say that we've taken all of that to account. Some of the things that we've done, or in regards to our priority issues, have kind of mitigated themselves to not lend themselves toward the high dollar value that we did think was going to occur at the outset. So I think we're going to be safe in that, but that's probably for uh, somewhere when we scheduled to make the presentation on the wetlands uh, in March. But I think we're at this point in time, we're probably going to look to move that up to February, because I think we've got enough information that we can share. And let me also back up. I don't mean to be like I'm rambling, but I'm just doing this off the top of my head. We did make a presentation about the proposed improvements to the wetlands to the council. I believe that was in November. But things have evolved since then, and the thinking has changed to where I'm saying that I think we have some of the challenges that I think we were facing are not the same challenges or to the same level today that we were thinking about in October and November. And I think we'll all be pleased with that. So that's why I'm saying I think that discussion should be for the February work session. And that would also entail the remediation about the riprap around the dam, and then the other issues surrounding the green space master plan, and also the stream restoration on the creek side of the lake. So that being said, I'm really comfortable, and I'll make a recommendation at this point that I think we should push off the this renovation, maybe entertain some of the smaller issues surrounding the plumbing and the electrical, and then wait to tackle the more the more cosmetic needs. And that way, everybody can be assured that we're addressing the number one priority of Pine Lake, which is the lake and the wetlands. And that way, everybody will feel comfortable around the next issue of having a a functioning space, or a upgraded space in order to hold events. And it also, it'll some of the cost surrounding the plumbing and the electrical, I believe, won't be as catastrophic as some of the other issues surrounding, renovation of the kitchen and the flooring and those types of things, because the building is still functional for that point. Those issues will be more of a cosmetic nature. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Thank you, Public Works Director Kendrick. I think I appreciate the kind of the layout of what it is. And that was my main question was, I think it's 100%. I know you've had your eye on from the very beginning of being here and assessing the conditions of the buildings, of really wanting to make sure that they are up to safety codes first and foremost, especially for the ones that are rented out. So that has been, a big focus of the staff, you specifically. So my question was really, looking at the list of flooring and cabinets and other things, but you addressed this. Is there a way to break out the things that are safety slash essential from the things that are more cosmetic or aesthetic in nature. But I believe you addressed that. I also would just say that from the very beginning, when this was proposed on council by the former council, I've just had concerns in the back of my mind that everything's more expensive than we think it's going to be. And with the priority being, as you mentioned several times, the lake and the wetlands, it feels important to me personally that we get all of the pricing laid out for the remainder of the engineering and the fixes, which is what that intergovernmental fund really is, our primary funding source for those things before we take on any non-essential projects. But I definitely, I hear your concerns specifically around the plumbing and electrical. And I think it's also on council, and the city to make sure that we're protecting our buildings and our assets. So I'll just enter that into the discussion and then open it up for council as well, if there's any other discussion.
Question for Mr. Kendrick. I think I saw this maybe in an updated version of the minutes, but I'd love to just hear out loud what the process is for selecting vendors. I think there are criteria in terms of whether they've worked with the city before, maybe small business or minority-owned business or other things. But what criteria does the Public Works Department use to choose vendors?
Well, when I have to go back a little bit, when I came on board, the city virtually was having issues bringing even attracting contractors to bid on the projects. I believe the city had a project which was Oak Drive that was on the board for a couple of 2 or 3 years before I got here, and they never, when they bid it out, they didn't get anybody to bid on the job. So literally, when I came aboard, that was one of my first tasks, was to, get some. And it was part of me. Actually, I was a contract employee, and that was one of the things that I was responsible for, was generating more vendors to be able to take care of some of the needs for the city. And through networking and various organizations that I know, we've attracted quite a number of vendors that did various things, that came on board and started bidding on our projects and those types of things. There were a couple of preferred vendors that were already on board that we were utilizing. And as we were going through the process, a lot of the contractors or vendors, just did not, we're a small municipality. They just didn't see the value in wasting time and those types of things to try to compete with our projects. So we were a small pool. And so those vendors became our preferred vendors. And so that we utilized those in the process of doing all of our projects. We've got, I think we virtually went from, 2 or 3 vendors that, locally, like say Comfort Air, that did our HVAC, but we didn't have any maintenance agreements with them. We didn't have a plumber. We ran into plumbing issues, so we had to reach out and get plumbers. I mean, we were literally forced to go through Google like anyone else at home in order to, secure plumbing services and those types of things. It was a good thing that Comfort Air is a licensed electrician and they were local, so we, utilized those guys. But we developed a list of preferred vendors who we've used time and again, and I think successfully, to do the majority of our projects. And once we, get hold of a vendor, then we like to utilize them time and time again.
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. Let's see, are there any other comment or discussion from council?
Mayor, there was something you wanted me to address. Is you want me to do that now?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to give you time to
So
think about it if you need
the thresholds are fairly lax, to be honest. There's a bill actually in the legislature right now to increase them slightly. But as we sit here right now, up to $100,000, we do not have to have bids. We can go and get quotes from potential vendors. Since this project is budgeted at $90,000, that's within that $100,000 threshold. So the process that the administration has utilized is compliant with state law, and authorizes the contracts to be handled in the way that Mr. Kendrick has gone about it.
Great. Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question to Mr. Balch? If that's a rule statewide, 100,000 for us is, almost 10% of our annual budget, whereas for Decatur, it's a drop in the well. Like, should we be thinking about this as a dollar amount, or should we be thinking about it as a proportion of what the city actually can afford on a given year?
The statute is written in hard numbers, Councilmember Lowers. It's not written as a percentage of the operating budget for the local government. So the $100,000 is what it is, whether you're the city of Atlanta or the city of Dawson in Southwest Georgia and Terrell County, or the city of Pine Lake in DeKalb County. It's the same number for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Great question, Councilmember Lowers. And also, just as a clarification, a point of clarification, the funding for these projects, we have our budget that the city adopts that lays out various projects and operations for the city, much of which, staffing and expenses are largely funded by the general fund, right? But we also have specific other funding sources, whether that's grants or other things that, other sources that we apply for, or in the previous, the outgoing mayor Hammett, and our previous city manager worked really hard to negotiate for a $2 million intergovernmental fund for the small cities, the 4 small cities in DeKalb County. So specifically to address parks and recreation and stormwater, because the city, we're a big attraction for people in Central DeKalb. We receive a lot of Central DeKalb's stormwater and process it. And so that was really an important kind of aspect in negotiating for that. And the funding that's before, the projects that have been before you, whether it's the dam, the wetlands, the engineering, the green space master plan, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it came out of that fund as well. And now the beach house renovation, those are all proposed based on our intergovernmental small cities fund, not from our general budget. So these are not additional, it's not taxpayer dollars per se that are funding these projects. These are additional funding sources on top of our general revenue that the city receives. So I just want to make that point so everybody's clear. And then the second point I want to make is that I just want to draw attention to the fact that, I've been on council for now 10 years, and we've had projects out for bid, trying to receive any quotes or any estimates. Paving is a great example, repairing various things, plumbing projects, all kinds of things. Bridges, that project went on for a really long time because we couldn't even get bids or estimates for those. As Mr. Kendrick was speaking to, we had, when he came into his role in Pine Lake, he brought with him an extensive network, having, decades and decades in the industry in the state of Georgia. So he has a lot of people that he, organizations, professional organizations, and people that he has worked with or knows professionally, that he's been able to convince them to bid on projects. And this is a really huge asset for the city, because now we can actually get work done. The fact that we have a list of preferred vendors, that's like night and day to where we were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So just to just to kind of make that point for everyone. But I did want just to make it clear that, when we're talking about taxpayer dollars funding these things, that's not exactly accurate. These are other funding sources that are not our general fund. So thank you. Any other council comment? Yeah, Deborah.
Yeah. So the a lot of the vendors on the agenda, it's difficult to find any kind of online presence. And I think just in, trying to be transparent between our city government and beholden to our constituents, I think just having a better understanding of, I understand that we're so small and it's hard to solicit bids, but then I also am like, we are right next to a big city, and I feel like there has to be some more transparency. It's just hard to locate any information about some of these vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And
I feel like it would be, I don't know, nice to have more information about them, because it just seems like, with the very little bit of information I can find, that it's using subcontractors. And then when I see the condition of the paint job on the clubhouse and how it was painted over peeling paint, we're going to be back to square one in another year because the prep work wasn't done.
I have a question for Chris around this. I know when we actually get to a bid process, there's a question, there's when we're soliciting bids, it's, the onus is to, choose the most responsible with the most qualified bidder. How is that generally handled for projects that are not bid? I mean, my perspective is that we lean on the professional expertise of our public works director, but
well, that's the short answer to the question, Mayor. What you typically look for is what kind of job have they done for the city in the past? Have they been responsive to needs and requests? Have they done what we believe, or what our professionals believe, is appropriate and professional and competent work? And if you tick those boxes, then they're people we're going to continue to do business with under this system. With projects under $100,000, where we're not only are we not required to go out for a bid, we wouldn't get responses to bids if we put it out in the publications for responses. So seeking information from bigger companies or people with web presence is just not going to be a realistic expectation for a project of this size for a local government. And I know, believe me, I understand $90,000 is not a small number for homeowners. We're about to do a renovation at my house, and I understand completely what big numbers look like to homeowners. So the reality is that when you're dealing with a marketplace that's as tight as this one for the kind of work that we need to have done, finding the people with websites that give their history or portfolios of work that you can look at for what they've done other places is going to be next to impossible to accomplish.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion around this?
I have one quick thing. The scope of work that we were given today about this was a list, and in the future, I would personally like to see plans, sketches, a design, contracts, something. And I know that might slow things down, but I would rather read a contract before we agree to a project than have to go back and figure out what was in the contract afterwards to figure out who's responsible for the West Bank that got chopped down. And so I would rather see all that beforehand as opposed to after. Council has read contracts for public works in the past. And then at some point we just stopped doing that.
Well, I'm sorry, Councilman Torres, I didn't mean to step on you. Please don't let me interrupt.
Okay, yeah. And so basically, in this list, one of the things that is interior and exterior paint, and we don't even know what color that paint is. And like, I'm not saying that we need to quibble over what color to paint it, but it would be nice to have those plans and sketches beforehand to get a good picture to build community support. And like Calvin said earlier, pictures would be nice. That's all.
Okay, the challenge that we face, Councilmember Torrent, is at least threefold that I can think of off the top of my head. One is you've got one person as the public works director who's trying to manage the project, get the project done, and accomplish the mission that you're describing for having the details before the council before we go to contract. That's an awful lot of ask for a one-person department. The second thing that you're asking for as far as the contracts is concerned is you're asking me to have contracts for council before you've even approved the project to get done. So you're asking me to do legal work that I'm going to have to build the city for that may or may not get approved. We typically draw the contracts after you've approved it. That way we know we're doing work which actually provides a benefit to the city that's not going to be sunk costs that you're never going to see a return on. So that's two problems. The third problem is that the level of detail that you're asking for on a project of $100,000 is not common in the public space. If you're dealing with a $27 million contract or a $74 million contract, then yeah, you're going to have texture samples and finished samples and all those kinds of things for every space in the entire building, whether it's the public meeting space, whether it's the council conference rooms, whether it's offices, whatever. You're going to have all of that kind of detail on a project that is 100 times more expensive than this one. Doing that on this level project makes all of this work exponentially more expensive because somebody's going to have to put together that proposal and put together those samples for you to review and pass judgment on, and they're going to want to get paid for that work. So you're probably talking about adding anywhere from 20 to 30% more to the cost of the project to ask that level of detail. So those are the three reasons off the top of my head why I think this is not what's done in this space. I understand why you're asking for it, but unless you want to expand the scope of the work beyond a level that is budgeted for, then we can't get there from here. And I'm certainly not going to recommend to the administration that they go pay somebody 30 grand out of $100,000 budget to accomplish something that nobody knows is going to get approved or not. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Hey, just real quick on that. Plain was told that the work for this would start February 1st. And so was there nothing more than a list? Like, did Public Works just have a list to give to these people? I think that there's more that was supplied and expected. Like there was some kind of negotiation of what we expect for that amount of money and what would be delivered. And I'm not saying that we need like full design layouts for everything that we do, but I would like to see more than a list to approve. And I think that there's something between having everything and doing up contracts completely beforehand. But if there wasn't a contract already made for something that's supposed to happen on February 1st, that concerns me too.
There's not a contract, John, because I haven't been asked to draw one. That's first.
Okay.
Second, I don't know that I could make a February 1 start date for a contract anyway, because I've got to try 2 cases in the next 2 weeks. So there are lots of things that have to happen for these projects to get done. And I understand Mr. Kendrick is all about making sure we get things done. But I often tell Mr. Kendrick, I can't meet that deadline because I don't have enough information. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus to say that I say that. That's just me talking to my colleague saying, you and I are both professionals. You understand what I'm dealing with. Here's what I have to be able to do to get where you want to be. Because I don't want to be the subject, or I don't want my work to be the subject of a finding on the 2026 audit. So all of this goes into how do we manage time, how do we manage budget, and how do we manage expectations? And there is nothing that has been on an agenda that hasn't been brought to council, hasn't been asked for by either your predecessors on council or people who are currently sitting on this council. So the assertion that none of these projects have been asked for is mistaken at best and misguided at worst. So there's a real disconnection that's going on between how government works and whether or not Pine Lake wants to be a homeowners association and whether Pine Lake wants to be a city, and the way those two things work very differently and independently of each other.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm hearing both of the pieces, and the analogy that is kind of coming to my mind, although it's municipal and it's not exactly apples to apples, is it's similar to, if you hire a design, like an architecture design firm, right? They're going to do all of the design, the interiors, the architecture, put it to bid, show you finishes, do all of these things. And then you have a plan set that you're working off of that gets down to the 1/4 inch. And that's kind of like the one extreme, the kind of expensive design side of things. And then on the other side, it's more like, for all intents and purposes, Mr. Kendrick is acting as like the design build GC on the project, as I understand it, where it's design that's in process. I would love for you, Mr. Kendrick, if you could just speak a little bit to the process that you go through with vendors as you're describing. I think that's it's a great question. And I think that it would just help kind of inform the public. Councilmember Torrent, that you brought up is, it's not like you're providing more than just like, this is the list when you talk about what it is that you're soliciting in a bid. Can you speak a little bit to that process? Is it, in-person conversations? You're doing walkthroughs? How does that work?
Yeah, give me a minute on this though. Okay, I understand exactly what Mr. Councilmember Torrent is saying and everything. That process that he's talking about, that was on the courthouse when they went and hired, I think, another firm, I won't name them. And they did come up with some plans and those types of things. And
that was pre-you, though. That was
it was before me.
Yeah.
I inherited all that type of stuff. And it was some things that were used and other things that had to be amended and those kind of things. But I understand exactly what he's saying. And the thing I try to do is provide a rendering. And I thought, and so let me say, the process that we went through, we didn't just hand out a scope of work. We had everybody visited the space to get a firsthand look at exactly what was required or what was in the scope of work, because you can't plan to renovate or do anything to the floor in that beach house, because to me it's kind of one of one. You can't describe it. You can't put it in a written document of what you want to have happen. with that particular floor unless you actually see it. Same thing with the electrician. The electrician is familiar with that building because he's serviced that building over the past, I don't know how many years, because as I said before, he was local. So he's familiar with he's probably the guy that installed a panel or something in there previous. So he's beyond familiar with that building. As I said, we had to bring a couple of plumbers in to look at the building to describe exactly what. So it was a hands-on type of approach to getting to where we needed to be to create that list. Then, like I said, we sat down with the facility manager and they generated some color palettes and those types of things. And we did look at, and generally the color palette that she suggested was more of a neutral because she said that was the type of thing that renters favored because of that if they were decorating the property when they had their particular rental. So that's what we settled on. Maybe yes, it could have been a better job of presenting those. I think we did have or some generated handouts and some color palettes that we could have presented. We did those types of things when we did do the bridges. We brought in the composite and the colors of the different composites for the decking to have the council select what the color. But ultimately, what we chose was the colors that closely matched the picnic tables that we had already previously purchased to kind of make it a seamless color down at the beach in the recreation area. But like I said, as we stand today, and let me say this, I'll go into this. Initially, the what we were talking about in the wetlands, because all of this is, like I said, we're going back all the way to where the wetland is the priority. Since I believe it may be about 6 or 7 months ago, pretty much all the channels in the eastern wetlands were dry. And we did a couple of things that were minimal that made adjustments to where over the last couple of months, we've had a steady flow of water into the lake, into the wetland cells, into the flume that has increased the water level in the lake approximately 1.67 feet. Okay, I think we've solved that issue, and we've solved the issue of the inputs into the lake simply because we just went and did a bunch of due diligence. But we still are required to get a core permit that shouldn't be as extensive as what we once thought is based on any of those three proposals that we brought to the council previously. Now, one of those proposals is exactly what we're doing there, and it's being gravity fed just like it was previously. Okay, we just need to settle on a maintenance routine to keep it as it is. Part of doing those other two improvements required what was called an H&H study. That was going to be the most expensive thing that the consultant was recommending, that I basically said I wasn't even going to present it to the council because it was, I think we could do it a better way. And I think that's where we are now. So what we're settling on and going to be presented to the council is that the solution to the problem in the eastern wetland that basically mimics exactly what we're doing now that we have to do for our core permit for the future maintenance is do a jurisdictional survey that is going to cost far less than what any of the design options that the consultant would be putting forward. And I'm going to basically say right now we're talking about $25,000 to $50,000, whereas we were and that's actually the getting something that'll be functional that we can actually go make sure that inputs to the lake stay consistent. Okay, whereas the $200,000 for the H&H was simply, as you put it, is a a design, something that we would still need to pay to implement. Okay, then we'll look at the placement of the riprap, both on the stream side and all. The other issues regarding improvements to the lake, as I stated before, we should be trying to fund those through grants. There's going to be some dredging because the majority of the inputs that come into the lake are sediment driven. They've deposited in the lake and they are going to need to be removed. We're going to have to address those in the next 2 to 3 years, just depending on what the levels of sediment that are there. So that's kind of where we're heading to wrap up. And like I said, we'll do a more extensive presentation in February regarding that. So the funding is there to do this project. But at this particular time, what I'm recommending so that everybody would feel comfortable with is to just do look, and for safety, not functionality, because the beach house does function fine. Okay, not the cosmetic things. We can still rent the building. It's probably going to still generate the same amount of rentals as it has done previously, and those will be in the majority of the summer. But we can fix the minor electrical issues and the plumbing issues. They're not big ticket items, okay? And we can still enjoy the beach house. And if we come back around and revisit this later during the slow season after Lake Fest and those types of things, we'll be more than happy to present it. And if that's the council's pleasure to move forward, or everybody thinks that just solving the electrical issues and the plumbing issues is enough, then we'll do that. And then in the meantime, we can also, take the scope of work and we can create renderings or anything that someone would need, and color palettes and those types of things, and we make those available. And if through our partners decide what they would like to see, and then we can move forward. Like I said, I'm just want to make sure the buildings are safe to occupy, just like all of the other buildings that we have occupancy in, because I don't want any slip, trips, falls. I don't want any where somebody touches operating the microwave where the it's not a GFCI there that is not grounded, to where they get shocked and then it's a liability to the city. So that's going to be my recommendation at this point, is that we just do the minor issues and take care of those. The major issues we can push those off and revisit at a later time.
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. And I think for if we want to push off to the next meeting, I'll discuss with the city manager a reduced proposal based on that recommendation for those things, and then we can potentially vote on that at that time. Okay. So yes, Stephanie.
I just wanted to share some comments before we close this discussion. So
great.
Just whenever that's a good time.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First, I just want to say, as someone very much on the learning curve, I really appreciate getting some context around the 100K bid thing, around the just scale of the industry. Like, all of that is super helpful. I also want to say to the many, many residents who sent us emails, like, y'all did the research that I was doing this past weekend as well. So I just really love that people are really paying attention and really invested in all of this. I do agree with Councilmember Lowers that one of the tricky pieces for me is that 100K is a lot of money here. And maybe that's something we need to better navigate with the bid process. Like, I do think there are ways to look at this differently. And I don't, I don't personally need to get into like paint colors and all of that kind of thing. But I do think that if vendors are sending us bids for these things, their estimate is based on something. And so I would like to see that. I would like to see the list with the like spitballed estimate. I understand what you were saying, City Attorney, that you can't make a contract if it hasn't been approved and all of that. But just the vendors are coming up with estimates, I'm assuming, based on, looking at the list and having numbers for it. So if that's the case, I would like to see that. Particularly because I want to be really mindful of the budget thing. And I understand, oh, I'm sorry, somebody can't hear me. I do want to be mindful of the budget piece. And so I just want to be really clear about that I'm definitely in favor of renovating the beach house. I'm glad that we have some capital for it that's not just from the budget, but I do want to do it really responsibly. And, for my part, I would not hire someone to work on my home if I couldn't vet the business a little bit. So I'm very reluctant to vote to use, any sort of like funding or tax money or whatever it is when there's not a way to vet them. And I think that, for me, looking at vendors, it's like, are they just even on the Better Business Bureau? Like I understand not having a huge web presence, but I think it's important for transparency and responsibility to have some of that information available. And the last thing is just that I think the timeline could be malleable if we can find some consensus around it, as far as talking to Lakefest potentially, or Pride, or some of the things that come up in the latter half of the year, just what people might be willing to work with or not. Because ultimately, I think when you take on any sort of like updates and things like this, they can run late, and we can try to plan it around things, but ultimately there's no guarantee it won't somehow spill into other events. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your thoughtful questions and explanations.
One more
I know.
comment.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I just want to maybe close out this discussion by saying the discussion that we're having tonight is the result of a lot of public input, a lot of very strong public emotions, a lot of listening from the council and from the city leadership on the administrative side. And I just want to appreciate like the importance that everybody, all those parties and the council, everybody here understands the importance of public trust in our staff, public trust in our elected officials, and that's like the cornerstone of our community. And so I'm really grateful to everybody over the past month for participating in that process. And these are all the incremental steps that we need to move forward in a way that makes Pine Lake look and function the way we want it to. But none of us here take that trust for granted. So thank you for everybody for being here and working with us, including Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Hawthorne, and the city for really hearing where our residents are at. So thanks.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Let's see. We have the amended agenda. So if there's no other discussion points tonight, I know this will be it'll come back up again shortly. I'd like for us to move on with item number 5, which is the resolution to do something. Resolution R 2026-03, the 2026 City Council meeting calendar. So we were going to adopt it. In the consent agenda, we moved it to the main agenda, the new business, so that we could discuss it. So first, is there a motion to adopt the calendar? Resolution R 2026-03.
I move that we adopt the calendar, the resolution 2026-03.
Okay, great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. Now let's open it for discussion. Mr. Torrent.
Yes. So based on the schedule that I just read for FIFA, that June and especially July is going to be a very busy time. I think we're going to need all of our administration here and working. We're going to have to figure out the short-term rental piece of it. We're talking about a need to move our budget and financial year to be July instead of December. There's been a lot of talk about that. And I think that I think our staff needs a break, absolutely. And so I think it shouldn't be that big of a deal to move it to the August 11th work session for the break of it, because we've got a lot to do.
Great. And just to clarify, the council calendar is not the staff taking breaks. They're still working. It's just not having a voting or work session meeting the weekend of July, the week of July 4th, essentially.
That is my mistake. But I think it still stands.
I think we should give them the whole week off.
Why not just give them a month?
Okay. So I'm gonna
peanut gallery leak in there.
Yeah, I heard that.
Sounded like a former council member, actually.
So is there any other discussion for that? So the proposal is the calendar as proposed was basically taking off that first week or second week of July. I don't know what date that was specifically. Let me look it up.
It's the 14th. So
14th of July.
The work session
would be the work session. Yeah. Thank you, City Clerk.
One more thing while we're at it. The last meeting of the year is the regular session on December 29th, which falls smack into what is a school holiday week, and a time that a lot of people don't want to be around, and probably nobody wants decisions about contracts or budgets or other things to be made 2 days before the end of the year for a variety of reasons. I'd like to propose that we look at wrapping up our administrative meetings or our council meetings earlier in December, like we did this past year.
Okay. Okay, so I'm hearing two different proposals for the calendar. One is to proceed with our July 14th meeting and instead remove the August 11th meeting. And then the second is to move our regular meeting from December 29th earlier in the year, or earlier in December. I want to ask City Manager Hawthorne the impacts of those as you see it from a staff perspective, specifically around the end of the year, because I know there's a lot of timing that is essential for the adoption of the budget, state regulations around how far before the end of the year and how much time we need to have between public hearings. And, it's always a bit of a crunch in that period. So City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think both the suggestions work well. Mr. Dagenhart actually put together this schedule working with Executive Assistant Missy Varner. And it was kind of a toss-up whether to go with the July date or the August date. So we have no issue with the August 11th. And I am I'm thankful to Councilmember Lowers for catching the December 29th. Because even though it's not a conflict with Christmas, it had not registered with me that it's smack dab in the middle of Christmas and New Year. So I think December 15th, to use the pattern that we used this year, we followed up a regular meeting with work session in a week's time. So I think December 15th, keep it consistent on a Tuesday would work if that's early enough for the council.
Great. Okay, so then I'm hearing kind of two options. One is we amend the calendar to include the July 14th work session, and we remove the August 11th work session. Again, staff is still working. It just takes a little bit of pressure off from having to prep for all the meetings and gives a relief valve to accomplish some other things and catch up. And then the second is that we take our final meeting of the year and move it from December 29th to December 15th, following the pattern that we did last year. So with that, is there any more discussion about those things? And if not, do we want to vote on those changes?
I have a comment about the December schedule. Just I'm fine with it. Like, I don't have super strong feelings, just because I think December is just a difficult month to plan anything. So, you know, I feel like we just kind of have to pick amongst whatever is the best fit for the group. But I do want to point out that I had the same thought about as Jane of like December 29th, like end of the year. But if we have a voting regular meeting on the 15th, that's only 7 days from the December 8th work session. And just like, I want to put a pin in, like, if that's when we're kind of finalizing budget votes and all that sort of thing, like that's only a week. So for me, I would really take that as the nudge to really work in advance as much as possible, because a week in terms of communicating things to residents and getting feedback and all that stuff, like not letting it just sort of like get bottlenecked, you know, in that 1 week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
The charter will solve most of those problems, Councilmember Kohler, because it requires that the budget be presented to the council a minimum of 45 days before the first vote. So that if you have the budget votes calendared for the 15th of December, that means that no later than the end of October, that budget has to already been proposed by the city manager. That gives you the work session in some work session or some special called meeting in October, the work session in November, the work session in December, and then your vote in December. So, and then there's public hearings that are included as part of that under state law that are required. So there's built-in time for the budget. We had, as everybody knows, a whole lot of first year people in office last year, and coming and making sure we had all of those dates calendared in advance was a challenging aspect of communication among the staff and outside counsel. So we've got a better handle on that this year. And if I may address one of Councilmember Torrance' questions, a change of fiscal year is an 18-month process in my experience, because particularly in cities like Pine Lake that require 2 reads for an ordinance to pass, that's 2 months by itself for an ordinance to pass to change the fiscal year. So in order for the legislation to get done and get all that managed, the city manager would have to have a plan for how that's going to happen. And doing it and trying to get it done this year before July 1, Hercules wouldn't even take the task on. So at this point, we're looking at if the city manager decides that's a recommendation he wants to make to the council, the earliest that it logistically could get done would be a July 2027 change, not a July 2026 change.
My apologies. I was just operating off of what Mr. Hawthorne told us in our December 9th meeting when we talked about moving it, that it could be done in the year. So that is.
Thank you.
That's fine.
And in last meeting, just where that stands, as Mr. Hawthorne discussed last time, is that there's pros and cons that he sees to both ways that it's currently laid out. And now that we've gotten through the budget and the audit, one of the next things with to just kind of inquire about and to research so that he can make an informed recommendation to council one way or the other, is to work with the finance department. So we'll have a proper recommendation backed up by the pros and cons from the city manager in due time, and then we can make that decision. But I think it's definitely one that we want to weigh the options on and not necessarily rushed. So yeah, and for those that might be wondering, with the question, we've talked about this now in a few meetings about the fiscal year, because the budget happens at the end of the year and our millage rate and tax digest happens in the middle of the year. It's somewhat asynchronous. We're often making budgets around what we project the tax digest to be, not what the actual tax digest to be is. And then we need to amend it. And so it creates a little bit more confusion and process potentially. But then there are also, on the flip side of that, as Mr. Hawthorne has mentioned before, there are some benefits to having them asynchronous rather than everything happening all at once with a million public hearings that have to happen, for both of those, and, all of the legwork on staff and the finance department and the city attorney. So I think, let's stay tuned for that recommendation one way or the other. With that, is there a motion? Well, there was a motion and there was a second. All in favor of adopting the city calendar resolution R-2026-3 as amended?
Aye.
Say aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
great. Thank you all. Whew. Sometimes process really gets me, but thanks for bearing with me in my awkward Robert's rules. Okay. So now we are back to public comment, and we still have a really good amount of public here. So thank you for staying tuned. As we did before, you can raise your hand. I see Jan Christensen already has her hand raised. And Ned will, City Clerk Degenhard will set a timer already up on the screen because he's on it. So state your name,
right.
your address,
Jan,
and your comment, please.
Jan
Thank you.
Christensen, 610 Ivy Road. I just want to say, I think that all the chatter in the chat is really disrespectful during not public comment. I also want to say that I've seen comments and heard comments that really are comments that are really thinly veiled accusations of Mr. Kendrick doing something nefarious. And it's really just has hit me so hard. And it's awful, awful. And whoever is saying those things and doing and acting that way, you should do some self-reflection. And I don't think council is Mr. Kendrick's supervisor. I think it's Mr. Hawthorne. So I believe that those are where the questions lie. And I think it's disgusting. And I just wanted to say it. It's really embarrassing to be a Pine Laker right now, right this very second.
Thank you, Jan, for your comment. All right. I see another hand, Miss Mira.
Hello. Thank you for time. I would like to ask a question about townhome. We were promised one on the last council session. So I'm wondering when we will have that. And I think we need one urgently. Other thing I would like to talk to is about Monarch Butterfly Foundation. I will share in a link. Apparently monarch butterfly getting in endangered species, and there are a couple of foundations that I think Pine Lake can benefit from. So it would be really good if appropriate, it would go through appropriate channels, and maybe we apply for them and we get them, because we can plant a lot of native flowers that attract monarch butterflies. Those grains go up to $300,000. So I think that is remarkable. Other thing I still want to point, I think, I'm not pointing finger at Mr. Kendrick. If anyone alluded, that was me. I'm just saying that whoever is in charge does not implement maintenance. Maintenance is a key of preserving so that we do not have to have costly repairs. We did not do any maintenance in the last 4 years for any wetlands. Now we are coming with the projects. We need designers, we need ICOM engineers to do that for us. If we just continue with maintenance, we should not do it, none of that. I'm also talking from a professional construction view. I know time is crunch, but if somebody dedicated his time for construction project, has to be professional, and everything has to be in writing and has to be clear. It's not just a color of the paint. It is what type of paint, what preparation of the paint. It is just example. And also, I still say there are Georgia procurement, I'm sorry, can't pronounce that word, that you can list your job and your bid, and you will have a bunch of bidders who will be happy, bunch of very good contractors who will be happy to give you a bid. And I think that process needs to little bit be more sophisticated. I just think it is just residential grade and it doesn't save any money on the long run. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment?
We got Alan and then Brandy Beavers.
Thank you.
Okay, Alan here. Yeah, thanks for everybody discussing all of these things. And I think everything's been pretty much hashed over with the riprap and the beach house. But what I'm not hearing is where we will have an actual discussion of what the engineering firm recommended versus what actually happened with the riprap. Will that be on next month's agenda? Can we then input again and get a little more information on that? That's all I have. And then my neighbor is sitting here. If we can raise our hand again, that would be Buffy. I'm done.
And I think in the interest of fairness, Buffy, if we could let Brandy Beavers go real quick, and then you'll be right up.
She could go ahead. I'm fine with that.
Oh, okay. Well, then Buffy, go ahead.
Okay, Council, well, hey, there's the clock. Council, thanks for investigating this and raising some really good and bright points. I was mostly concerned about the pricing, among other things, on the potential contract that you guys are being asked to vote on without any information, which isn't very fair to you. As Council Member Stephanie noted, whoever L. Brown Enterprises is, they had to have done some sort of number crunching and listing or something to come up with this figure that fits our budget. So I hope that if you intend on moving forward with this particular vendor, you do look at what you're getting for $71,250. Also, just the breakdown of the components of that, the painting, the flooring, the wood, these prices seem a bit high, and I know times are crazy and things are tough, but since this seems to be an informal process per our city attorney, can we not even solicit like a basic painting company to come look at the space and give us an estimate? Is it necessary to bundle these three things? Because it seems like you could at least break the painting away. I don't know what woodwork needs to be done, or what's involved with the flooring, but I just think that that could be an option for us too before we dive into spending a lot of money not knowing what we're getting. And if someone could please follow up on Miss Mira's advice on the bidding, I'm sure she could give us that information. It's probably, it's already up there. This is a little city next to a world-class city. And with a little more effort, I really feel like we could get more fish on the hook with these projects, and have something to look at other than just the cost of the project. We don't need the full contract, but as a citizen, I want to know what you're spending that money on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brandy.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to say I'm all for renovating the beach house. I just also think that there just needs to be more discussion around the process and the priorities, especially given the current issue with the lake. And I'd also like to point out that the state sanctioned bid threshold of $100,000 doesn't necessarily have to be the Pine Lake threshold. Our council actually has the ability to change that threshold to a lower amount. Pine Lake's a tiny city with around 750 people, and I just feel like we should be functioning more like that instead of a large city. So if we could please try to keep that in mind. Also, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Council Member Torrent was asking for contracts before the project. I've worked on many projects for the last 30 years, and I've always had a spec list at bare minimum to accompany the estimate. I just don't think it's too much to ask for. Once the project is approved, then we could move to drawing up contracts before the project starts. I don't think that's too much to ask for either. No disrespect to Attorney Balk there, but if you don't have time to draw up these contracts, these tiny contracts before the project starts, or we can't support supplying a spec list and an estimate ahead of the council, it just seems like there's some kind of serious disconnect there somewhere. But I really have hope that we can figure that out so that we can move forward in a good way. Thanks.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none.
Hey, it's Eva. I might just
Hi,
really
Eva.
quickly say something. I just wanted to say that I think that Bernard's idea of doing the plumbing and the electrical at the beach house is great. And maybe that's what will keep everybody feeling good, is like having these things knocked out, at one at a time. And that way we can keep up with what's happening. Those two things have been horrible. Even when we did the renovation previously, they were not addressed. It was just sort of surface renovated. I think that's what has some people a little anxious too. So anyway, I just wanted to say I support Bernard doing the plumbing and the electrical at the beach house. I think that's a great idea, and that will help rentals in the future of the. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So seeing no other public comment, we're going to move on to reports and other business for myself and City Council. One thing I wanted to just quickly look at with Council under my reports are the upcoming town hall, scheduling an in-person town hall, ideally in the next month, given calendars. So let's look really quickly and see if we can get that scheduled, if y'all can pull up your calendars.
And Mayor Hall, that doesn't need to be a Tuesday, is that correct?
No, it doesn't need to be a Tuesday, although I would recommend that we do it between the week, or during the week, to, Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. We could do, on my end, I could propose February 9th, but I want to just ask City Manager Hawthorne. That's too quick of a turnaround for staff prep at all. I don't imagine, but and if not, we could look also to the week of perhaps the 16th. We have a federal holiday that week, but how does February 9th look for everybody? That's a Monday night.
Yeah, that Monday night would be a day ahead of the work
Council meeting.
session. I know Mr. Kendrick suggested during his comments that he wanted to really bring the council up to speed on the I guess you would say the overall project. And of course the community would be privy to that. And I'm very proud, Mayor, that yeah, we were over 30 something people throughout the evening. So I guess on the one hand, his preparation would be such, having coordinated with AECOM, that he would be pretty prepared. I guess my question would be, would the council be okay with having the town hall before they have been fully briefed by our consultant?
Regarding the riprap specifically, the
yes,
questions,
yes,
and the
and
engineering.
I'm just sensitive. We've got a new council, and it's pretty obvious, and this isn't critical, but they are receiving their education from multiple sources, including part of the community. The staff really hasn't had a chance to engage with the council in an in-depth way. And for the benefit, I think I said this at the last meeting, we've got orientation scheduled for this week. The public is invited. I'm sure the city clerk has put something out, or will be putting something out. And establishing that relationship, including roles. The city attorney will not be on the orientation this week, but I was hoping that we would be able to conclude. I would normally want to start with the legal orientation. So the legal orientation is something that we're looking at for next Tuesday. We also have the comprehensive plan. So it's going to be a loaded agenda. But I guess my answer is, if Monday works, and you're okay with doing it before the council briefing, I'm fine with it.
Could we look instead with that information to Monday, February 23rd? I think that's all important context, and I think it may answer some questions to have that briefing at that work session, so that we can focus on the state of the city and what's ahead in the town hall, which is my hope for the agenda there. So, and hopefully a lot of those questions and concerns will have been addressed at that point.
Is Monday the only option for a weekday?
No. We could also do, Tuesday, the week of February 23rd. I'm out of town the week of winter break, the 16th, which is why I didn't put that one forward.
Mayor, if you need me for that town hall at all, I can't do the 23rd or the 24th.
Okay, so then another option would be Wednesday, the 25th.
What about the
Also-
Wednesday, the 11th?
I just wanted to
I
point out that the
can't
newly
do that.
elected people have our conference February 25th through 27th.
Okay.
So we'll all be away. That
25th through 6th. Okay, so 23rd is an option then if it's a Monday, barring our city attorney being there, but I don't think that's necessary for the town hall. But I'll defer to y'all or to city manager if you think it is. And then you guys are out of town the 25th through the 27th. So yeah.
Wednesday, the 11th is after the work session,
No.
which would give us information from Mr. Kendrick and AECOM.
Yeah.
And I think doing it as close to that presentation would be really helpful.
I unfortunately am not available that evening. I have a work function that I'm committed to. Same with Thursday, the 12th. Is the 23rd an option for everyone?
Could do it.
Potentially. Okay. I
Fine.
think that's the next available after that week. Is that, I can't see. Okay. I see it's okay for Jane. Deborah's thumbs
Yes.
upping.
Does Mr. Balch need to be there? I think his expertise would be probably useful or helpful, but if you don't think that's necessary,
I don't
that's
know.
fine.
In the past, we haven't had our city attorney present at our town hall meetings. It's really just an opportunity for the council, the elected body, and the staff to kind of present where we are and talk to residents in a less formal setting. That's my inclination. But what do you think, city manager?
He will be present for the work session. So I think that will be sufficient. The green space is an example of where the city attorney and I had this discussion, and the lake and the surrounding environment is different. But I think we can do it without the city attorney.
Okay. Are you comfortable with that, Chris?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. So then with that information, does the 23rd work for folks? I saw a yes for Lowers, Goldberg, Hull. And
Works for
Stephanie,
me.
does that one work for you? Okay. Torrent, Kohler.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And then staff, are you good on that one for those? Okay. Perfect. So let's do it on February 23rd at 6 p.m. Normal time here. That works for folks.
Mayor, are you looking at it as a remote meeting or in-person meeting?
I'm imagining this one as an in-person meeting. I think it would be good to gather together. How do y'all feel about that one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
if you're going to have the entire council there, Mayor, it will need to be in person unless there's another exigent circumstance that excuses being live and in person.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. So that's what we will do. And then just reports and other business. I just have an announcement that we're doing coffee at City Hall this Friday at 8:30. So swing by and have some coffee. Myself and the staff have an informal chat. I know Councilmember Lowers and Councilmember Hull are doing a chat beachside on Saturday as well. So there's ample opportunity to show up and have conversation. And yeah, I hope to see some folks there. And yeah, to one of the public comments, like what's next regarding riprap and the questions about the engineering report. I mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting. City manager and public works director and I have a meeting tomorrow to kind of go through the play-by-play, and we'll report back at the next work session. So stay tuned for that information. And I think that's it for my comments, other than I just appreciate that everybody came, that we have 30 some folks, as Mr. Hawthorne called out, which is pretty wonderful. And yeah, this is where information is shared in open meetings. So I encourage you to keep tuning in. And as we talk about these projects and discuss them, you'll be apprised of that information. So great. All right, council, any comments before we adjourn?
I'll just want to say thank you for everyone who took part in conversations. For me, we could only do our job as elected officials if we hear from residents, and your voice matters. So it only works if we all work this out, and it's a process. I appreciate the conversation today. It might have been challenging at times or felt challenging, but it's necessary in terms of educating each other, informing each other, working through the process of getting a new council up to speed. Decisions are being made that other councils were part of, and how do we help the new council to be able to do that in a way that honors the residents' input. So process matters, and having difficult conversations is part of that, and being okay with having an open dialogue where maybe different perspectives are welcomed. So I appreciate that. And again, keep sending emails, keep calling, keep talking to your council and elected officials, because that's how it works.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other council comment?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you as well to everybody who has reached out, and to all the city staff who's been answering questions and helping me navigate this new role. So, and I'm really looking forward to co-hosting my first community chat. So I hope to see some neighbors down at the beach house this Saturday at 3:00. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other council comment?
Just the general thanks all around. Nothing to add.
All right. Wonderful. Any other? Okay. Seeing no waving hands, is there a motion to adjourn?
I will motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. I don't know why I keep raising my hand, but I do. I can
You're-
send to
you're
y'all's vote here.
waving.
I'm
Well, I think
waving,
the
yes.
last Zoom council, you may have been a council member, so.
That's true. It's habit. 10 years in the making. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks
Meeting
everyone
is
for
adjourned.
showing up.
Have a great
Good night, y'all.
evening.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
So much.
Good night.
Good night.